Right, welcome to this week's edition of the Old Paratrooper podcast. And today I'm joined with former Paratrooper, Terry Byrne. How you doing, Tel? All right, pal?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Good, and thanks for having us.
No dramas at all, mate. We've had a few back and forth bits and bobs trying to get it nailed down, but it's a kind of regular occurrence when people are busy, people have got lives and stuff. So I'm just glad I've got you on, pal.
Good.
So yeah, as I kind of talked to you briefly about before, what I do with all the podcasts is I like to start at the beginning, get a bit of a rough background about yourself, where you grew up, kind of what you were like as a kid growing up, and basically kind of what led you down the path you took in life and joining the army and the events that unfolded from there. So yeah, whereabouts did you grow up, Terry?
Yes, I grew up in Blackpool. I had five sisters, my mum and my dad. I was, I learned probably from that. I'll fight with any man, but I won't argue with women. I think they're absolutely lethal. So
True.
and I was a bit of a sort of terrorist at school, if you like. I never got kicked out of schools or anything like that, but I certainly weren't the best behaved, and my grades and sort of education showed that, to be honest. But all the time I was growing up, it was always my dream to be in the army in the parachute regiment. So, but overall, I had a pretty good upbringing with mum and dad. Friends and stuff like that was never really an issue. But yeah, 16, 17 years old, I went to depot. So back in 2001. And yeah, that's where it all started for me. And day one depot, I absolutely loved it, to be honest. And from there, the mates I've got in depot are still some of my best mates now, like Billy Smart, who's a free para lad. Um, and then obviously I grew on to Ginge and Dolph and people like that. But as soon as I was in depot, I absolutely loved it. But it was certainly busy times, and that was a time that Two Para was in Ireland, and it was a time that 11/11, the towers went down, so the guys was going to Iraq and Afghanistan and everywhere like that. So yeah, straight through depot, and then I was lucky enough to go straight out to Ireland, join Two Para. And that's where I met sort of Ginge Barrows and Dolph and Ben and people like that, who are still sort of my best mates now. From there, I was lucky enough to go straight on to come back a couple of months and then a tour out in Iraq. So that was Optelic 3, 2003. Went on there, Optelic 5, so went back there in 2005. And then, yeah, a couple of years in the Reg where I boxed for 2 and 3 para. So just alternating the teams each year. So I'd sort of get pulled across by the legend that is sort of Ned Cameron back in the day when he'd hammer you on the boxing team, and then back to 2 para. And then, yeah, all sort of kicked off Afghan 2008. I was a full screw 7 platoon. And we was in a place called Fob Gibraltar. So it was a pretty sort of big tour for us. We had a hell of a lot of contacts. Unfortunately, quite a few sort of fatalities and a lot of injured guys as well. So for me, it was definitely the pinnacle in my career. I did everything that I'd sort of joined the army for and wanted to do. From the big firefights, the sort of emotional out there, the how you get on with your mates, everything about Afghanistan I loved, and I found it really, really peaceful. And what I mean by that is, in the UK now, I've got 2 kids. I've got an amazing wife. I've got a nice house. I've got a job. With that job, I've got a works phone, and I've got hundreds of emails a day. You worry about your bank account. You worry about what's going in, what's going out. Can you afford going out or the family holiday or whatever like that? You're keeping in touch with all your mates, and it's just incredibly busy. Your life, and that's what I find at the minute. If I go back in time to Afghanistan again, it was what you joined the army for, as far as I'm concerned. I used to go out, we'd end up getting in a firefight inevitably a lot of the time. And then you come back in and you're thinking you was on Top Gun playing volleyball with your dog, or having a game of chess and thinking you was all educated, and a bit of football and stuff like that, and just generally having a laugh around the fob. And don't get me wrong, there was terrible times out there. But I found it really peaceful, and it's exactly what I wanted to do at that point for the rest of my life. If we shoot along a little bit, I was August the 13th, 2008. So I just got back from R&R, actually, so I'd had a good couple of weeks at home, chopsing off about how much we're doing and this, that, and the other, and everyone's like, no, you need to sort of back off a little bit, stay safe out there and things. Anyway, 2 days later, I was leading the patrol. I had a guy called Wayne Ho, who was in my lead scout. He obviously stepped over the landmine, and then I went and stepped on the landmine, resulting in below knee amputation on my right side, a bit of degloving in the right hand. You can see that, and losing a little finger, and then other little bits of injury, shrapnel in my bum and stuff like that, but nothing else major. The big ones, obviously, the leg and the hand took probably a lot longer to heal as well.
Wow, that is a kind of, I suppose it's mental, that, isn't it? Because how come someone in front of you steps over it and then you step? It's like your card's marked almost, isn't it?
Well,
do you ever feel like the feat?
Unfortunately for him, I did go back to battalion as a provost staff, and I did shell him for having a right leg, which I thought was well deserved.
Well deserved, no, quite right as well. It's not fair that you lose one and he shouldn't. You know what I mean? Especially
Exactly.
stepping over
He only had one job.
it.
But no, he was.
Yeah.
Like I say, I absolutely loved Afghanistan, and I've got, looking back, I've still got fond memories of what we did and how close we became with each other. And like I say, that unfortunately what happened out there with the fatalities and the injuries and stuff like that, I can't mind in that. It is unfortunately, it was part of it. We was out there fighting. It's not nice, but yeah, the actual job that we did out there, I think, is what I joined the army for.
Yeah, it's a kind of a strange one, and probably people that have never been in that kind of environment will understand it. It is a simpler time. You go out, you do your job. There's no outside worries. I completely get where you're coming from. Obviously, I'm quite open about the fact I was in for 7 years, and I've never been on a tour that was like them tours. The tours that I went on were busy, and there was a lot of potential, but they weren't like the Afghan tours that you guys went on. And I'm really open about that. I wish I had, to a certain extent. I think every soldier wishes they had, but be careful what you wish for, because obviously, like yourself, you've come back sadly missing a leg. So it is exactly that. But I mean, yeah, simpler times. And I have heard this from a lot of guys that have been over there about the fact that they love the tour, and people that won't have been in that environment won't understand that, because it's what we train to do as paratroopers, as soldiers, and to get out and do that. And like the banter and the camaraderie and the brotherhood and everything else behind that is never greater than in a place like that when there's a hardship, is
there? No, you completely break each other down on that, and then you rebuild each other. It's sort of what depot is. That's what depot essentially does. It breaks you down as new blokes, and makes you shave your head day one, and sort of takes your identity away from you and stuff like that. And then over the next 6 months, it'll build you back up together. And that's why I'm so close to my depot friends still. And most people are who join the reg. And as well, when you go back out in Afghanistan and things like that, that's the same sort of thing. You're completely broken down to nothing. You go through the worst emotional feelings you can possibly have, and you also go through super highs. And it is a very simple life out there, and that is something I miss to this day. Like I say, just having a laugh with the blokes day in, day out, doing silly stuff to each other, going out, putting yourself to the complete limit with adrenaline and everything else in your job, and then coming back in. So yeah, I think it's and we've got a big FOB Gibraltar reunion in August, and there's loads of people going, and no doubt he'll be sinking a few beers, a few tears, going and talking about what happened out there and everything else. And so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, it was certainly a special time.
Yeah. And I suppose the best therapy for everyone involved is meeting up and talking about it. Again, we'll come on to that later on with mental health aspects and everything else. But yeah, it's once you leave the military, it's difficult. Some people don't stay in touch. I've been lucky enough to stay in touch, not necessarily physically, because people disperse all over the world in different careers, but I've been able to keep in touch via social media or by phone, and bump into people from time to time and try and meet up when I can in foreign countries. Just been over to see a lad. I don't know if you know Ray Smith, Scottish lad that were in D Company.
I think I do.
Miserable fucker, absolute miserable fucker. Jock. Well, he's a jock, so most jocks are miserable fuckers. Certainly in power regiment. And they don't take any offence to that. Yeah. The Reg lads know what I'm talking about. But he kind of, I went over to see him, and I've not seen him in 20 years. Like I saw him yesterday. So there is always that aspect, isn't there? And like you say, it's good therapy to meet up and have a bit of a chat, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm quite fortunate. I live in Colchester still. So after moving back, well, I moved back in 2012. So I still see, my closest mates every week. I can still go down to Fox anytime I want. And I've always got them on the end of the phone, and worst case, meet them in 10 minutes in the pub or whatnot. So I'm very lucky. I sort of take that as my strongest asset, really, my mates.
Yeah, no, definitely, pal. That's it's a good thing. There's arguments for staying around in Colchester when you leave, and whether you do because you kind of remember it how it was and you're not part of it anymore. But there's also exactly that you're still around the lads, and and you're kind of keeping in touch and talking things through and meeting up for beers. So yeah, there's bits and bobs for both arguments, isn't there? But so obviously you got injured. Obviously, I assume you were kind of treated right there and then on the background by the lads in the section. Did you
Yeah,
have a medic with you in the section or in the patrol?
yeah. There was actually a doctor. So it was a company patrol actually that night. So I was leading, and then I remember it as exact. Really, I stepped on the landmine. It was pitch black. So I screamed I shouted medic a couple of times as loud as I could. Just my initial, because what happened was I weren't aware that I stood on it. So I stepped on the bomb, and then I've stood back up, and my legs sort of collapsed then, because at the time the leg was still on. And then I put my hand to grab my FFD, which is a first field dressing, a dressing for my leg. And I've realised my little finger sort of snapped off, and it was just sort of a bone, if you like, sticking out. So that's only when I realised it was me. So straight away, the guys was on me. A little bit of a fight. I think the guy put a couple of rounds down, but that was about it. And then I got carried back by Adam Island. So I was 2 section. I think he was 3 section at the time. His section picked me up and carried me back probably 200 meters. And then I got picked up on the quad by Ollie Stokes, it was. Straight into the FOB Gibraltar. I remember Adam Island was holding my head, and I'm pretty certain I remember this right. My leg was being moved because someone was told to. So I think I shouted a few swear words at someone, sort of looked down, and Daz Line is holding my leg, if I remember right. I was like, oh, fuck, I'll leave him to it. So, yeah, but.
Yeah, you don't want to argue with Daz, do you?
No, not even when he's holding my leg. I was like, I'll leave that one. But, yeah, and then within sort of probably half an hour, I'm guessing, I was straight on the MERT. Which was unbelievable. I had people working on my hand straight away, people working on my leg. I had a sort of senior nurse talking to me, telling me what's going on. From there, obviously, half-hour flight or whatnot. Straight landed at the base, straight on the back of an ambulance for literally 20, 30 meters. And I remember sort of the doors opening, and there was just 4 or 5 surgeons, or certainly people, 4 or 5 people all in white. And that's probably something you'd never get in the UK, because we've got a lot of great doctors and stuff in the UK, but the ones who go away to places like that, I was the only one injured at the time. So I guess without knowing for definite, I guess the call went round, we got an injured soldier coming in, and all the sort of doctors and nurses was there ready. So they all came. So I had a load of doctors and nurses on me straight away. Wheeled in. Obviously they examined me and stuff, and then a nurse said, right, I'll see you in the morning. And then obviously they injected me, and I sort of fell asleep. When I woke up, I rang me mum and dad, told them what had happened, and then 24 hours I was back in the UK. But bear in mind, this time I still had my leg, so it was severely broken. The foot was smashed to pieces. It looked like a Dr. Dot, if you like. And when I was back in Selly Oak, I went there, and they did about a week's worth of operations, mainly on my hand, because he was trying to save that as well. And I had a lot of the wrist and his own metal work in there, and metal work in the finger and everything else. And then it was a Wednesday night, and a guy called Dr. Sargent, who was a surgeon, he came in and he said, look, this is your leg. We can perhaps save it. It'll be a fused ankle. You'll have really bad arthritis and stuff like that. And I said, well, what would you do? And he was pretty open. He said, look, unfortunately, I've been doing this quite a long time, and I've been doing a lot of these operations lately. And I'd advise you to amputate it. I can't tell you, but that's what I'd advise. And I just led down and said, well, you're the subject matter expert. And he goes, right, I'll pick you up at 7 a.m, which was like, oh, you what? So yeah, next day, 7 a.m, he took me into theatre and yeah, chopped my leg off, chopped my little finger off as well. And then I was lucky, really, from there. Selly was brilliant. I've got nothing but good things to say about that place when I was there. I thought the care we had and everything like that was fantastic. I was there for another 5 weeks, where they just doing whatever they sort of can, fixing my leg and stuff. And then they got me into Headley Court. So I went down to Headley Court, same. Me and Tom Neathway went in the same car. And just sorry, back on Tom Neathway. So I did depot with Tom, and then we joined the reg together. Then did the patrols carder together and D&Ds together and a few courses. And then when I went to R&I, he just got blown up the week before, a couple of weeks before. So I went in to see him in hospital. And yeah, the following week I was led next to him in a hospital bed. So we sort of did our whole career together.
Everything together.
Up until getting blown up. And it was
literally,
sort of yeah. And then we drove down to Selly Oak together as well, to Headley Court, sorry. And then we did, obviously, Headley Court together. I did 6 weeks. He did quite a bit longer. But yeah, from that point on, back a little bit, when I was in the hospital bed, I was just generally watching TV and stuff like that. You lay there, and it was a time of the Beijing Paralympic Games, and straight away my sort of head flipped, and I thought, right, yeah, I want to be an athlete. I want to get into the Olympics and Paralympics. So I decided that very early on. My leg was just chopped off. Through battle back, I got onto a talent ID day when I was still in Headley Court, and you went down testing your power, your leg power. I got rowing, cycling, and athletics. So I did all them, and then I went off to Headley Court and start getting better. So day one in Headley Court, brilliant. You go in there, they fit you for a leg straight away. About 2 days later, the leg's ready, so you're straight on your feet. And
wow,
yeah, unbelievable facility. Again, you hear a lot of bad stuff about the injured guys and how they've been treated, either financially or the hospitals. But I've got nothing. Like I say, all of it was. I was really, really impressed, and I had a very slick journey all the way through it. But with Headley Court, my mate rang me up, Dolph, and he's like, right, and Dolph, people that know him who watch this, and some people won't. He's very simple. He ain't got time for a lot of stuff, and he's like, right, I don't care what you lost. What's up with you? We're going to Headley Court, and we're going to Australia. It's the 2nd of November, if I remember right. He goes, I've got your tickets, and I've got your tickets to the Rugby League World Cup. So I'll see you then at the airport. And that was about it. There was no like, how's your leg? How's this? How's that? I was like, right, that's that done then. But that only left me 6 weeks from landing in Headley Court to actually, go into this trip. So I spoke to the surgeon and stuff, and he's like, nice, you can go, but you won't have your leg with you. You'll be on crutches or a wheelchair. I was like, well, that's not really happening, mate, but we'll see how we are in 6 weeks. So again, I'm quite narrow-minded and quite focused. I got my head down straight away and thought, right, however much this hurts, whatever it is, I will absolutely be walking without crutches on that day in 5.5 weeks' time. And that's what Headley Court was for me. I went in there. It was a place to get better. Great place for me. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't want to stay there. It was a. You get in there, you get fixed, you disappear. So yeah, it's about 5.5 weeks, and I got fully discharged from Headley Court, which generally is about a 9-month process. And I didn't have to go back for the lower limbs and stuff like that for practice and all that. It was literally signed your paperwork, back to your battalion, off you go.
Wow. So yeah, well, that mindset, pal, was like unbelievable. Like you say, you're obviously very driven and channeled into almost like a hyper focus where you're like, I suppose Dolph we're doing or not, probably not. I do know Dolph and all, not as you.
It's probably not, but it's definitely what I needed.
Exactly that, mate. You know what I mean? What you needed to kind of give yourself a goal, to give you a kick. Well, not that you needed a kick up the arse, but you know what I mean, to try and motivate you and get to a point to get out of there. And that's impressive. That is, pal. So fair play to you. So what? You went to Australia. So how was that?
Oh, it was incredible. There was a few of us, me, Dolph, Ryan, Andy Spencer, who lives in Australia now, and Al King. And as a trip, we followed England around. We didn't get to the final, but we went to the final and watched New Zealand win. As a trip as a whole, it completely sorted my head out. It sorted me walking out, and it fixed everything really. So incredible trip with the blokes. Came back and then was like, oh, got a bit of money after tour. Let's go to Thailand. And we went to Thailand for a few weeks, and then it was sort of back to work, if you like. But yeah, really, really great trip.
So did you get to soldier on, or did you didn't get a medical discharge then?
Yeah. So what happened was when I did that talent ID day, that was probably back in September time. They actually called us up in January and said, look, we'd like to offer you a place on the GB cycling team. So I went to TOPP with this and said, look, I've got the chance here to get on the GB cycling team as a hopeful Paralympian. And straight away they jumped on it and thought, well, it's a great PR thing for the army. So they said, right, I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll get you over to Manchester. We'll rent you a flat out by the velodrome. And best of luck. Anything you need off us. So you're still a serving soldier at this point, and you're just going to do a bit of PR for the army here and there. And more importantly than that, TOPP was like, we wish you the best and we hope you make it. So I moved over with my wife in March, and straight on the GB on the sprinting team. From there, I think we broke the world record in, I think it was about 12 months. And then I won the world title in team sprint. I won gold and silver. So gold in the team sprint, and I think we did the world record twice that day, in qualifying and the final, and also second in the kilo. So it was I had a really good time there, to be honest. And then coming up, I went into London 2012 hoping for a place. Rightfully so. Jody Cundy was the number one in the world, and I mean, he still is to this day, to be fair. So he got the spot, and I just missed out on a place in London 2012. So that was always the target. If I'm completely honest, and not everyone agrees with this or understands it, maybe, I never really enjoyed the cycling team. It was not, from being in an environment like the parachute regiment and stuff. It being injured and stuff like that, to then being a full-time athlete, it was something that I look back on winning the world championships and the gold medals and stuff, and I can tell me little ones that, and they're really sort of proud of it, and I am in hindsight. But as a 4 years, I didn't enjoy it. Just training relentlessly every day, I didn't find it, socially, being in the reg and stuff like that. I didn't, drinking culture and all the rest of it. I find it very, very difficult. And winning the world championship was good, but I stood up there and it was a small crowd, and I didn't get the same buzz from it. I boxed in front of 2 and 3 power in front of 1,000 reg guys. As you go in, cheering your name and everything else, and even winning the world champs, I stood on that top podium, and probably that's where I lost it. And probably, if I'm completely honest. And then when I was devastated when I didn't get to London. I was really, really hoping for a spot, and I thought it was deserved, but they've got so many people who can take, and I didn't make the cut. So I've got no sort of problems with that. But that was straight away. I didn't make the cut. London came along, and then I left the cycling team straight after.
Right. Okay. So I suppose it's a bit of one of them, and you didn't make the cut, and at least you kind of accept that, don't you? It's just one of them things. But
that's what we
hate. Environment that you kind of.
Nah, and that's what we love and hate about sport, innit? It is absolutely brutal. Look at the boxing last night, or the football today is probably a prime example, but it's completely brutal. And when you're in that moment, when I got the phone call off my coach saying, look, you haven't made London 2012, and I just put 4 years into it, 25 hours a week, I was devastated. But at the end of the day, Jody Cundy was the best in the world, so I was number 2 in the world at the time. And the rules are the rules, aren't they?
Yeah.
In the meantime, as well, what was going on is Martin Hewitt.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you?
So for the purpose of the viewers, the reason why the background's used, the signal were crap. So we've changed. All right. So yeah, sorry, pal. So yeah, carry on as you were.
Yeah, so yeah, decided I'd already spoke to the missus and I was going to come off the GB cycling team, which was the right decision. But in the background, there was a guy called Martin Hewitt and he'd up to Grand Slam, and they was doing the North Pole at the time and Everest. And this was a small team of disabled people doing these sort of incredible things, what I saw. And while I was riding every day, I was thinking, you know, that's the sort of stuff I want to be doing, that really close-knit team environment where you completely depend on each other. And I approached Martin anyway, and he said, look, you're more than welcome. You're obviously disabled, so you're more than welcome to come on for the trials. And if you're strong enough, absolutely, you can do it. So, yeah, I went on. I was pretty strong, and he took us straight to, we've done Kili together, Kilimanjaro, we've done all over Africa, all over Europe. We've done Russia, we've done South America twice, we've done North America, climbing, and what it is, it's the 7 summits in the 7 continents and the North and South Pole. So I've done South America, Europe, Africa, attempted Everest, and North America. And it gave me everything that I missed from the army. So I was, we was going away, we was obviously training really, really hard together. And I'm not sure if you've done mountains and stuff like that, but when you're on these incredible mountains, you know, Denali or Gran Paradiso, Mont Blanc, Kili, you have to work together as a really close knit unit. And because we're disabled as well, you know, Martin might be better at carrying a little bit more than me because he's got 2 legs. But we get to the campsite and he's absolutely useless at setting up a camp. You know, so he does bugger all in that environment, and it's me doing everything. So you really sort of work closely together, and you're also pushing the limits as well. If you're going -40 in Aconcagua or Denali and places like that, there's that team environment, what you get from when you're on tour and what you get when you're in depot as well, and now they break you down and bring you back up. That's what the mountains are like, and that's what it's given me, to be honest. So yeah, I've been doing that since 2014 now, which well, it's the Adaptive Grand Slam, the AGS Foundation, and then from there I did Mount Everest in 2019, and that's where there was me and Martin on the summit team. Incredible mountain. Obviously, we went to base camp over the first 10 days, and there was a mountain on the where the ranges. There was a mountain next to Everest called Pumori, and we was going to summit that. So it hadn't been summited in about 15 years, and it was almost vertical, this mountain. It was incredibly tough. Martin did summit. Martin, he's not the fittest or strongest person I've ever met, but mentally he's without a doubt the strongest bloke I've ever met. He can put himself in some horrendous positions and get through it. So yeah, up Pumori, we went up to Camp 1, feeling good. Went to Camp 2, and with my ability, it was beyond my ability, if I'm completely honest. It was a lot of rope work, a lot of ice climbing, really steep ascents. And went to Camp 3. Martin went on and summited. He was the only person out of a team of 7, being 2 disabled people and then another 5 paying clients. And he was super strong, Martin was. And what happened was, on the way down, I was probably about 300 or 400 meters away from anyone. We was going down the mountain at our own pace, and I was on roughly a 200-meter abseil descent. I'm not sure, you know, who's abseiled. It's quite easy. Just, you know, feed the rope through, and you can run as quick as you want almost. So I was doing that, and my fake leg punched into the ice. It's probably gone. It's just gone in enough to stop the foot. But what's happened is the knee has popped over and completely popped out, which I've never happened before. Dislocated my knee. And obviously a little bit of pain at first, it hurt. It did pop back in though, so I carried on going down. As soon as I started walking a few meters, it popped out again. The problem was I was on my own. Me being a tight northerner, I was like, well, there's no way I'm paying for a helicopter evacuation for £5,000. That's just not happening. And it probably can't happen anyway where I was and how high I was. So I had to make my way down 1,000 meters ascent. Back to Everest Base Camp. It popped out about another 3 or 4 times, and then I was further down than Martin, so I waited for him at Camp 1, and then me and him sort of steadily walked down to base camp together. I could make it down. I did make it down to base camp, and then I stayed there for another 3 weeks. And what it was, it damaged all my nerves. So I had incredible nerve pain. So it progressively got worse over the first week to a point where I couldn't walk more than sort of 5 or 10 meters. I couldn't wear my leg. I couldn't sleep. The nerve was just exploding, and it's probably the only time I've ever cried. Well, in the last 15, 20 years, and it was horrendous. So I flew back, and yeah, luckily enough, Martin summited for the AGS team, and yeah, so he summited Everest now. Plus, he's only got one more to do. I came back, and I got straight into hospital. The NHS didn't quite understand what it was, I don't think, and nerve damage doesn't really show up in scans. So you can have an X-ray and actually
Yeah.
bones. They gave us an MRI scan, and it just weren't working, and because it weren't hurting all the time, it literally just fire off. So luckily, a doctor got in touch with me, a lady called Mrs. Crick, who's a specialist in this in Salisbury, and since then I've had 3 operations on my leg to put it right, and I reckon she's got it to about 90 to 95%, and that's probably about as well. It's pretty high, admittedly, but it's as good as it's going to get, because beyond that, I'd end up getting the leg cut higher, which I'm unwilling to do. So yeah,
No, because I did. Sorry, I did. Yeah, I did. I did. Obviously, I don't know a massive amount about amputee, and but obviously below the knee amputation is a lot better than losing that joint, isn't it? If I'm not mistaken.
yeah. So below the knee, you can still walk normal. So if I've got trousers on, you won't really tell. If you're above the knee, you generally walk from your hip, because that's where you have to raise your foot. So they sort of,
Yeah.
you'll always see it from the hip movement, and they sort of pull the hip over, and then in longevity, that obviously causes its own problems with wearing the hip and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, luckily Mrs. Crick, and big thanks to her, she put me in a good position. I've had 3 operations now. If I'm ever strong enough to go back to the mountains, because the guys are on Denali at the minute. Actually, I'd love to go to Denali again and Everest and stuff like that. I'd certainly like to do Martin's last one with him, but again, it's a self-inflicted injury. I chose Everest, and things happen. It's a life we lead, unfortunately. So yeah,
Yeah, it's one of them, and it's like what do you do? You kind of obviously you're the sort of bloke that likes to push the limit, which fair play to you, absolutely. But at times you have to go, well, look, you know, kind of think about your position there, and and whether you're
yeah,
going to lose a bit more of the leg, and you have to maybe draw the line with some things. And obviously you've moved on a little bit, and you're doing kind of new stuff now, aren't you?
yeah,
So
and that's why I've just got to reassess. Really, can I do the mountains again? I'm certainly 50-50 at the minute, and it really should be probably 30-70 against, but I'm holding on to that dream because it means so much to me. But at the same time, Martin got in touch again, and he's like, right, we're as a team, we're going to do this Tour Divide. I was like, so obviously jump on Google, Tour Divide, what's that? And it's the longest and known to be the longest and arguably the hardest mountain bike race in the world. And it goes from a place called Banff in Canada, through the Rockies, and then it goes all the way through America to New Mexico till you touch the border at Antelope Wells. It's completely self-supported, so I'll be solo. I'll be carrying my tent, my sleeping bag. I'll be carrying everything I need. You can stay in hotels if you've got the budget for it, but you're not allowed to pre-book. So you just turn up, and if there's a room, you're happy to rent it. You're not allowed to pre-book or anything. Obviously, food-wise, you're generally stopping at the garages and the convenience stores, and that's where you pick up your food and water. Everything else, navigation, everything is down to you, the man, and the bike. And mechanicals is up to you to fix. And I stopped bike riding, if I'm honest. I stopped after the GB squad. Like I said, I didn't ever enjoy it that much. But I sort of straight away this got into me, and it started sort of playing in my head. I thought, bloody, that's a sort of bit of me. That's a challenge and a half. And I'll always fancy myself mentally. I feel I can survive in them environments. I feel that there's a lot of boredom, a lot of, you're waking up in the morning after 5 days, and you slept 3 hours in a tent. You got bears roaring and mountain lions roaring and bloody tarantulas running around, and getting back on the bike rather than going to the hotel, to the airport or whatnot. So I started looking into it. I'm 40 this year, so I sort of said to my missus, "Look, can I have this for my 40th birthday? Can I basically bugger off for 2 months?" And yeah, I sort of couple of events with Martin, and they're doing it as a team. So you've got Steph, he's got both legs missing, and they're going to do it as a supported team, and they're doing the Grand Divide, and they'll do it over sort of 50 days. Um, and I was with Martin on an event, and I said, "Look, mate, I don't get anything out of that. Not saying anything against that, but me personally, I want to do if I'm going to do it, I want to do it proper. I want to do the actual Tour Divide. I want to do it as a race, as a solo racer, and I want to be the first amputee to firstly do it, firstly attempt it and complete it. And I want to do it as a racer's time, which means you have to be below 25 days. So yeah, Martin was like, absolutely, I'll fully support you. He got us a bike, he got us a watt bike. He obviously doing my training myself and stuff. And now the time's almost upon me. It's like 3 weeks away now. I'll be flying. So yeah, I've dedicated. I've done already over 3,500 miles this year on the bike, and then more last year. I'm probably doing 25, 30 hours a week at the minute training. Maybe 15 to 20 at the minute. And yeah, that's my sort of next big thing, if you like. That's really getting my head going at the minute.
Yeah, that's pretty epic. That. So, how many kind of hours, how many miles you looking at to do that in that 25-day kind of range? What sort of mileage you looking at a day?
There's a minimum 110 miles.
Oof, on a mountain bike as well. That's different from a road bike, isn't it?
Yeah, well, mine weighs probably about 50 pounds. So bear in mind, a road bike will, I forget, I think it's about 10 or 11 pounds or something these days you can go to. But I've got a salsa cutthroat. I've got all the tail fin storage. So I've got storage for about 50 litres for my, obviously, camping set. Yeah, I've got the rad tent, sleeping bag, liner, a little bit, your warm kit, all your mechanicals. You've got, that's not including water, but I'll have 5 litres of water. I'll be carrying at least a day's worth of food with me, which when you're burning 12 to 15,000 calories a day off is quite a lot of food as well.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So I think 110 miles on a mountain bike on gravel tracks is equivalent to 200 miles on a road bike a day.
Yeah, that is going to be epic, and that's going to be mental more. So again, well, obviously there's a massive physical aspect, but it's like to push yourself, because not only that as well, you're going to get saddle sore, you're going to get chief, you're going to be
I've done 200
your
miles this
legs.
weekend and I've got saddle sore, so nothing's
Yeah,
cut. It's just sitting on a bike for 10 hours a day. It hurts.
yeah, of course it does. It's inevitable, but it's like switching off from it, isn't it? Switching off from it and focusing on the end goal, and just saying to yourself, it's just 25 days, which is a long while, but each time you're kind of every day or every mile you do, you're eating into that, aren't you? So
Yeah, it's a job, and I think you've got to enjoy the journey. It's not just about the end for me. It's not just about touching that border at Antelope Wells. It's got me fit again. It's got me sort of motivated again. It's inspired me again, and hopefully it'll inspire others if I do this. But you've got to enjoy the journey. And I've got back with friends who I haven't rode with for years, and new sort of cycling friends, if you like. And yeah, I've been out this morning, been out yesterday, did 100 odd this morning, done 85. So I've really enjoyed the journey up to this point. And with all the stuff I've done, being depot, Afghanistan, Iraq, Ireland was probably the most miserable, if I'm honest. All the way through to the mountains. Being on Everest for 3 months, being on Aconcagua in Argentina in tents for 2 months and stuff like that. You sort of tell yourself, "Oh, I know I can do that," but your body forgets how hard things are. It naturally erases them. And I'm going to go through all them emotions again, and that's what I look forward to. I've got a nice job, I've got a nice family, and I want to be outside the comfort zone again, because I'm in it too much, if you like. I'm in the comfort zone at the minute. I'm quite fortunate with everything I do, and it'll absolutely put me out the comfort zone, and all them emotions in your body, from you know how happy you can be to how sad you can be to broken, mentally exhausted. If I get to the end, I'm going to feel every single one of them, and it'll be second stage fun. Don't get me wrong. At the time, I'll be, I will be fully broken, but at the end of it, it'll be a euphoria, if you like. And it's like I say, it's a journey for me. It's, I just can't wait to get there and just do it and just get on it.
Yeah, life's about kind of experiences, isn't it? And I suppose from your perspective, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you must feel a little bit like you've been given not a second chance, but you've kind of literally you've dodged death, literally as close, not
Yeah.
pretty close, and you kind of now you're kind of making the most of. Again, fucking, I massively admire that. I don't want to patronise you or anything else, but for me, that is absolutely kind of incredible because there'll be a lot of people out there that had lesser injuries, not necessarily just military, but kind of in all walks of life that have injured himself, broken leg, broken ankle, and they'll be like, well, they use it as an excuse. It's an excuse then to be lazy and sit in a comfort zone and go, I can't do stuff because of this. When you're kind of proof there that even
Well,
though you've got one leg, you can go and do it.
I don't think he changed me. I think I know guys who was injured who was useless before injury and useless after injury, and
Yeah.
like you do with reg guys, useless in the reg, useless out the race sometimes. I don't think you've massively changed. And with my leg is my problem, and everyone's problem is the biggest problem in the world. I'm sure you've got things going on which is causing you no end of bloody heartache or hard work, and everyone's and that's sort of mental strength as well. And everyone's problem's their biggest problem in the world, and it's how you deal with that problem. And I'd probably say a lot of the time with legging, my biggest problem. There's other things going on in my world and stuff like that, and that's where it's sort of mental strength, and it's how you deal with stuff, and it's probably all from the way I was brought up, the way I did the army, and everyone's different, aren't they? And it's just my outlook is, and that's going to be my motto throughout there: just move forward. However he's tired, I just move forward, just go, and it don't matter how fast you go, how far you go, just keep going forward. And that's what sort of I try and do with everything, to be honest, being work, being family, or anything else.
Yeah, no, fair play, pal. And you got to take on, like I say, the experience of doing it, like, and all the stuff you've done as well. The mountains, the kind of the Paralympic team and stuff like that. It's kind of they're massive experiences, aren't they? And that's what life's about. It's about taking those experiences, regardless of the kind of finish, kind of the end result. It's like you say perfectly there. It's the journey, and that journey from the Rockies down to kind of the border with Mexico and that. What an experience, regardless of, you know,
Well, that's how I see it. I'm fortunate enough, and I always say to my mates and my family, and sort of anyone who'll listen, if I went back to that day where I stood on that landmine and I got the choice, I'd stand on that landmine again because of the experience that I've had ever since. I always wanted to go special forces. If I would have made it or not, well, I never did the course, so I'll never know. And that's gone. But I've been very fortunate. I've got a brilliant family, a beautiful wife, and two great kids. I've got a nice house. I'm financially a bit more secure, and things like winning the world championships, winning, breaking world records, things like going up Everest and all these mountains I've done, and hundreds of other things around it as well. Riding a bike with Mark Beaumont around the Troyes TOPP, around the sort of Tour de France route. All this stuff I've been fortunate enough to do. Getting to my employment now, I only feel very fortunate and lucky, to be honest. And what an opportunity! I don't look at it as it is going to be hard work, but what an opportunity!
yeah.
If to have the opportunity to go and ride from Banff in Canada all the way to New Mexico, and you don't know how many more opportunities you're going to get.
Incredible.
So that's what I see it as, and that's where the excitement comes from. People think I'm mad for it, but that's where the excitement comes from. This is the biggest opportunity in my world at the minute. Before I did Everest, but that's been and gone. You've got to look for the next, haven't you? You can't stop and stale. So,
Of course, mate, of course.
so yeah,
Life's not a dress rehearsal, is it? You're in
no,
once to do it. And I know that sounds corny, but there's a lot
no,
of people
right.
out there that don't embrace it. And I've tried to the best I can. I've traveled all over the world and I've worked all over the world and everything else. And this podcast is a new adventure and everything else. And I'm trying to do different stuff. And I think that's the time you stop and admit, right, it's time to do. It's it's never going to happen. There's always something, isn't there? And while I can
Yeah.
still do what I could do and stuff, I'll keep doing it. And obviously, your mentality is, well, it's more so than mine with it. You know, you keep pushing it. So fair
Take the
fuck.
opportunities, you know, take the opportunity and work out how to do it later.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. No, I appreciate you coming on, pal. But I want to lastly touch on as well, because again, one of the big reasons, obviously, I'm in the fire service now. I've been in the military. I think we crossed over about the same time I was leaving as you were kind of getting in. But kind of every industry I've worked in, and obviously yourself as well, you deal with kind of mental health issues. And so the idea behind this as well was to kind of raise awareness for mental health. So I suppose what I want to touch on, if you're happy to talk about, how has the injury affected your mental health? How's it been with it? Because it is, and I know you seem very kind of blasé about it and you kind of play it down. That's obviously your kind of character, but how has your mental health been around it?
With my injury originally, there was no issues with it. I saw it as part of my job. And then because I was on the GB cycling team so quick, I was focused. And I think myself, but I think everyone, I think you've got to have a purpose. Um, and I've always had that purpose. Between Everest and probably 6 months ago, a year, I struggled a lot more because I'd severe nerve damage, and that's took me 3 operations and sort of 4 years to get over. And
Yeah.
I didn't have any work and family, and I'm not taking any away from that. I love them to bits and stuff, but I didn't have any big challenges, big focuses, and I was working 9 to 5. You should do your job, you know, and it's sort of eat, sleep, repeat. And for me, that lifestyle I found quite hard. So it did. Um, I did sort of struggle a little bit with that. And you know, when you're getting up and I didn't walk my dog for 4 years. I had to do it on a mountain bike because I couldn't walk, 400 meters around the field. You know, even a little and hard. You want to go for a walk to the park? I can't. You know, I have to get on the bike and ride there. Or
Yeah.
walking around the town and the shops with my missus. I just couldn't do it. And so that's probably the only time I've sort of struggled mentally and sort of really been down about it. Because that when my leg actually didn't take away my mobility because I was so 6 weeks I was fixed. When I'd done the nerve damage after Everest, that completely took away my mobility. And all the doctors accepted that because I had one leg. So why do I expect to walk to the park and things like that? But it's just what I'd known and what I'd done. I could
Yeah.
walk miles. I've walked up Everest and things. So that is the main for me. That is mentally when I've struggled.
Yeah, no, I can imagine as well, like you say, it's the nerve damage and being constant pain as well. Like you said, with the kind of initial injury, you kind of got fixed pretty quick. You had a focus, but then
Yeah,
that again with it's when you're in pain, I suppose, isn't it? That's I know a lot of people. If you've got kind of pain that's getting to you over time, that'll weigh you down, and obviously
yeah,
affecting your everyday life as well. It's going to have a kind of a nasty effect, isn't it? And certainly play tricks on your mental health. Um,
100.
yeah, no, 100%. Paul. So, how long you got now before you? As you say, it's 3 weeks.
Yeah, I fly on the 12th of June. So I fly into Calgary in Canada. I've got a hotel there, so I'm going to have I'll have a walk around Calgary because I've never been there. I'm 40, so I might never go back. So I'm going to have a walk around there.
Beautiful place. Beautiful place. You'll like it.
Yeah,
I've been
I've
there.
heard.
Really
So
nice, mate.
I'll sneak out for a couple of beers. Yeah, I'll have 2 or 3 shandies if you like. I can afford the calories at the minute. On the 13th in the morning, I get a shuttle to Banff, and another hotel. I get there at sort of 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm hoping to set up my bike, get all that sorted out, and then I'm going to bugger off out in Banff, have a walk around. There'll be loads. There'll be about 180 Tour Divide riders. So yeah, sort of meet and greet if you like. Go around, have a bit of food, see who I can bump into, and then at 8 o'clock in the morning on the 14th, my spot tracker will be turned on, which is a satellite tracker, 10-minute tracking mode, and that's how people want to follow me on my Instagram, Tell Byrne, and yeah, it'll all be updated on there. But that'll be me, 15 hours a day. My job is to ride my bike as far as I can and sleep. I've got absolutely nothing else in my diary. So, back to Afghanistan where I've got nothing on my mind and I found it peaceful. I'm sure, and the mountains, it'll be a similar sort of thing because I won't have I might be able to check my phone in certain places, but that'll be limited to that. I'll have my music in my ears and I'll be riding as far as I can. And sort of daydreaming about the next expedition or challenge what I want to do.
No, fair play to you, pal. No, absolutely, hats off, mate. And what I'll do as well is obviously while you're away, and I'll follow it on your social media, and I'll share away amongst
Brilliant, thank
groups
you.
and everything else, and try and promote it as much as possible. And obviously with this podcast as well, usually I've got a backlog of maybe 4 or 5 weeks with ones I've got backed up. But what I'll do is I'll try and get this one out in the next couple of weeks, pal, and therefore raising it. Is there like a kind of any sort of sponsor page or a GoFund page, or if is all that sort of stuff sorted in?
No, I've never raised money before because back in sort of 2012, I used to give a lot to charities and stuff. And as you know, the life we sort of lead, there's a lot of people doing the charity pages. So I had to sort of stop giving because I weren't that wealthy, and I stopped raising money as well because I was doing stuff all the time. So I dedicate my time for free, and I coach the boxing 2 nights a week, which is a charity and all volunteers and stuff. But for this, because it's such a big challenge, I haven't done anything for a long time, and I wanted to give back a little bit to the AGS, what they've given to me. They put a lot of money into me on these expeds. So I am raising money. It'll be all on me Instagram page at Terry Byrne, and it's tel_Byrne. It'll all be on there, and it'll have the links to, there'll be a link tree there, which is the links to where I am, my tracker. There'll be a link to the wonderful page, the charity, the giving page, and other stuff on there as well. So yeah, now if you could share that, that'd be fantastic. It'd be nice to raise some money, which I think the event deserves it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But well, I'll share everything constantly whenever I put anything out. Like a new podcast every week, and the bits and bobs are due through the week. I'll tag a link in it and everything else, pal. And we'll try and get you as many people as possible following you, because again, I think it's truly unbelievable, pal. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not, but I am envious of you doing it. Whether I'd be fit enough to do it, because I'm a right lump nowadays, but I don't know whether I'd be able to. And that's me sitting here with both legs saying I don't know if I'll be able to do it. You know what I mean? How bad's that? I'm sat here with both legs saying if you with one leg's going to go and smash it. You know what I mean? So there you go. I'm making excuses already, Anna. So,
yeah.
But no, mate. Listen, thank you very much for coming on. I'll have a quick chat with you in a minute off air, pal.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. And likewise, I've seen some of your podcasts as well, mate. They're brilliant. So yeah, hopefully this will be as good. I've done it justice.
Yeah. No, definitely, mate. Well, you definitely have, mate. And honestly, mate, I think what your whole journey and your mindset is like really, really kind of inspirational. So, you know, keep at it, mate. And I'll be following away as you go, mate, and supporting you from over here. So happy days, mate. I will, like I say, I'll have a chat with you in a minute off air. But good luck, go smash it, and have a good one, mate.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers, pal.